Manchester City have a fantastic squad, and on their day, they can pretty much beat anyone. But there's been a lot of inconsistency in their results, and that's because despite all the talent they have, there are some glaring issues with every single player. Let's start with Donnarumma. Everybody knows that Donnarumma is an elite shot stopper, but part of the reason why he was kicked out of a treble-winning PSG team was because of the fact that he's not great with the ball at his feet. He's so good at making saves and dominating his box, and as Pep has glazed him before, he's a massive guy.
What does he give you that you didn't have?
He's so tall, that gives us. It's so huge.
That's exactly why PSG were able to win so many trophies with him in between the sticks. But he is just not great at kicking the ball and passing out from the back. It's one of the reasons that City are unable to maintain their lead. Because before, when they had Ederson in goal, he could ping the ball to anybody from anywhere. It was like having an extra outfield player. If teams wanted to press City, Ederson could play in behind, or he could find the passes in between the lines. Donnarumma can't do that, and it's a lot easier to press Manchester City when you know that whenever the ball goes to their goalie, he's just gonna kick it upfield. So City lose that element of control. It's a lot harder to dominate possession when you know that your goalie is not gonna be able to keep the ball consistently. Again, he's a fantastic shot stopper, and that aspect of his game is one of the reasons that he's been able to bail out City on multiple occasions. There are not many better goalies than him in terms of just saving the ball and stopping it from going into the net. Plus, the presence he has on crosses and set pieces helps City a ton, because Ederson at times would get beaten there. But his ball playing skills are definitely a huge weakness. Now, his backup, James Trafford, his issue is inexperience. I feel for the guy. He made his dream move to City, probably thought he could play really well this season and actually be the #1 goalie for the World Cup for England. But his inexperience showed in those first few games, and then unfortunately for him, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity came up for City to pick up a world-class goalie. If Donnarumma wasn't available on the market, Trafford would just learn and get more experience under his belt. But unfortunately, you're not going to get that opportunity when the guy in front of you is Gianluigi Donnarumma. Now we move to the back line. Now, at right back, we have Matheus Nunes. Now, the biggest weakness with this guy is that he's not a right back. I feel like he's actually done an excellent job considering he's been played out of position. It says a lot about City's quality of defenders that a guy playing out of position is their best right back. Now, I know some City fans are still disappointed with him because he can be a defensive liability. Going forward, he's perfectly fine because at the end of the day, that's a central midfielder playing at right back. So when he inverts in or he makes these overlapping runs, he's great. I mean, how many times have we seen him cross the ball to Haaland and he just bangs it in? So he's excellent going forward, and he's much better actually going forward as a right back because he's not in as many tight situations as he was in the center of the park. Remember, at one point Pep said that Nunes wasn't clever enough to play in the middle. Well, that's not an issue when he's on the ball at right back.
He can become a good right back for the physicality. I think he's not a player to play in the middle because he's not enough clever.
But naturally, he's going to be a defensive liability at times. He's going to be out of position. He's going to get beat by a winger. It's not really his fault because, again, this isn't his natural position. But it's a glaring weakness, and it's one of the reasons why City tend to concede. Again, I actually think he's done a very good job. There are certain games where he's very good. He gets stuck in. He can be physical because he's a bigger, taller guy. But there's always going to be inconsistencies when you're playing a midfielder at right back. Now, his backup, Husanov, is actually very good. I wish Pep played him more. That guy's weakness is that he's too aggressive at times, and he's inexperienced. Maybe that's one of the reasons why Pep is slowly adjusting him into the team, because Husanov hasn't played that many games of the top flight. Yes, he played several games in Ligue 1, but remember, he made a huge jump very early to play in a top 5 league. So while he's at City now, he's still very early in his career. I still would give him a lot of opportunities. Yes, he's not as good on the ball as a Matheus Nunes, but on the other hand, he's a monster defensively. He's fast, he's aggressive, great in duels, both in the air and on the ground. Of course, like I said, one of the other issues is that he's way too aggressive, but that's something that he can learn to develop and lower down as he plays more games. He needs more experience. Not playing him because he's not experienced is like not giving somebody a job because he has no job experience. How is he going to get that experience if he's just riding the bench? Then you also have Rico Lewis. Now, his biggest weakness is that he's not a physically imposing guy. Sometimes he works as this inverted right back, but too many times Rico Lewis can get bullied. And to be fair, that happens to him anywhere he's playing. Whether it's at right back or in the center of the park, there are going to be games where other teams are just going to dominate him physically. He's a good technical player, very intelligent, but that's always going to be an issue whenever he's on the pitch, no matter what position he's in. Then we go to left back. Now, I actually think Nico O'Reilly is very good in most departments. I would say his weakness is once again inexperience. He needs to play more matches. It's another guy that's being played out of position. Remember, he came through the academy as a midfielder. It's only been like a year and a half that he's played as a left back because of this experiment that Pep wanted to do. I think he's been great there. Again, another player who going forward is terrific, and he's much better defensively than the likes of a Matheus Nunes. He just needs to play more and to develop more, especially if he's going to be playing in a brand new role that he didn't play when he was a youngster. Now we get into the center back. Now, Gvardiol is an excellent center back, but his glaring weakness, unfortunately, is his defending. I don't know why, but this guy can be so hot and cold. On the ball, he's unbelievable. It's why at times Pep played him at left back, because he's that good. He can carry it, he can shoot from distance. I mean, do you guys remember when City were struggling? Guardiola was literally one of their top goal scorers. That's how complete this guy is. You can easily play him as a midfielder. He's good off set pieces, great in the air. The problem is defensively, sometimes this guy really gets exposed. I don't know why, because on paper he has all the qualities to be an excellent center back. He's fast, he's strong, he's big, but sometimes his positioning is just completely off. He dives in when he should have backed off. He's too aggressive in a challenge. And this is part of the reason why City concede a lot of goals, because as you watch them play, scoring is not an issue. It's how many goals they leak in. Prime example being that game against Fulham. I mean, how do you let a 5-1 game turn into a nail-biting 5-4? Or how about the match against Leeds? So that's the problem with Guardiola. He has to be much better defensively and more consistently. Then with Ruben Dias, I would say the weakness is age. He's still good in certain matches, still a top-level center back on his day. He blocks shots, he's good on the ball, he'll challenge in duels, but he's not the same guy he used to be in 2023. You're not going to get as many consistent performances. Sometimes he's just going to get beat because his legs, I mean, they're not gone, but again, it's not what they used to be. So looking to upgrade the center back position eventually has to be a top of City's priorities. Maybe Vitor Hayes can come back from loan and do a good job there. Again, in certain big matches, Ruben Dias will still show up and be that guy, but he's becoming Unk. Now, speaking of Unk, let's talk about the midfielders, specifically Bernardo Silva. His weakness is pace and athleticism. I mean, that's always been a weakness throughout his career, but he's so intelligent on the ball, so smart, that it never became a big issue. It's why Pep has played him in every single position possible, everywhere across the pitch. Even when fans were begging him to stop playing Bernardo Silva, Pep still played Unk because he's that good. He fully understands what Pep wants from the team. He's a great leader. I mean, when City beat Liverpool, this guy went from being a slow midfielder to one of the fastest guys on the pitch, fueled purely by his hatred for Liverpool. If you followed Bernardo's career, he always shows up against these guys, especially when he was in his prime. But obviously now, you're noticing that his legs are starting to go. He was never the fastest guy, but now he's incredibly slow. Haaland always jokes about Bernardo Silva being slow.
Are you faster than Bernardo?
Yeah, he's faster than Bernardo.
How much Bernardo got? 40?
Bernardo's not that long.
And eventually City are going to have to transition. He's still a Swiss Army knife for Pep. You'll see him as a center midfielder, as a right winger, but they're eventually going to have to move on from him. That lack of athleticism can't be around this team, especially as football is becoming more about athleticism, more about physicality, specifically in the Premier League, with all the throw-ins, the set pieces, how much teams want to attack and transition. It's time for Bernardo Silva to slowly adjust and move away from this team. Now, part of that rebuild is around Nico Gonzalez. He came in to replace Rodri, who unfortunately his weakness has become health. Hard to criticize a Ballon d'Or winner when the poor guy hasn't really been on the pitch since winning that award. But that's why Nico Gonzalez came in. Now, the issue with Nico Gonzalez and his weakness, it's not the fact that he's not Rodri, it's his mobility. He's not going to cover a lot of distance. He's not the most athletic guy. Again, he doesn't need to be. He knows where to position himself to win duels and to intercept passes, but it would help to have more legs around him. Because Nico Gonzalez, he's a tempo setter. He's very good at receiving the ball in between the lines, controlling the speed of matches. He's great in duels, but he's not going to cover a lot of ground to win those. He's not the most athletic guy. So that has to be a concern for City going forward. They got him as the Rodri replacement, but now it seems like they need somebody else to play next to Nico. Again, he does a lot of things great. He's even added goals to his game. Very good on the ball. And even though he's not the most athletic guy, he still can intercept the ball, win 50-50s. But against more athletic midfields, he might struggle. And we have seen him struggle, especially if City are not dictating the tempo. If City are on the ball and they're controlling possession, Nico Gonzalez, he's like baby Busquets. You're not going to get the ball off of him. But if they're playing against a team that's very direct, that are going to punish you in transition, Nico's not going to be able to stop them consistently. He just doesn't have the legs. Then we get to Tijani Reinders. Now, I think the biggest issue with him is inconsistency. At times, he looks like a world-class central midfielder. Like City have finally found their Gundogan replacement, especially early in the season. After that Wolves performance, I thought this guy is just going to dominate the entire league. All the people that were saying, oh, how is he going to adjust to the Premier League from Serie A? I was laughing in their face. But unfortunately, since then, his performances have been very up and down. He's had some great moments, especially when he links up with Haaland. Because again, Reinders is very similar to Gundogan. He plays deep, but he can make these darting runs and get goals. That's what Gundogan loved to do back when he was the captain. Those deep runs from midfield just destroy back lines because they're never able to track it. The problem, as I've said, is that Reinders is not consistent. There are certain games where he gets the goals and he's involved. There's other games where he's just not seen. He's just a passenger. I don't know whether it's the increased physicality. I don't believe in that because he is a good player and he's perfectly fine battling with players in duels. I just think maybe it's part of adjusting to Pep's system and adjusting to a new country and league, because he's very talented, but sometimes they just bully him out of games, which is weird because again, he's an intelligent player, very technically gifted, and those players usually never get bullied. I mean, look at what David Silva used to do in the Premier League. That guy wasn't the biggest or the fastest, but he was aggressive and he was so good on the ball that trying to tackle him, it was like trying to catch a fish with your bare hands. He was too slippery. Now, I'm not saying Reinders will be as good as David Silva. That guy was one of a kind, but Reinders has the quality to finesse his way with skill past these midfielders that want to bully you. So it's just a little bit weird to see the inconsistency, but I chalk that up to somebody adjusting to a brand new league. Not everybody can hit the ground running. We've seen glimpses of how good he can be, but to see that true level of consistency, it might take some time because City desperately need him. He's a very unique profile. He would also be the perfect partner to Nico Gonzalez. But if he wants to truly become the next Gundogan, if he truly wants to be seen as a world-class midfielder, the level that Milan fans used to talk about him, we have to see the best version of Reinders far more consistently. Then we get to Cherki. Now this guy is a star. I love watching him play. The Rabana assists, the little megs, the scoop turns. It's so nice to see someone play with flair, especially for Pep Guardiola, because I was told this guy makes everyone a robot. Yeah, those guys are looking stupider and stupider by the day. Pep has no way stifled any creativity from any player. He only did it to Grealish because that's the only way that City were going to play winning football. So Cherki is a perfect example that Pep lets creative players and good players continue doing what they do best. Now Cherki's only weakness is his movement off the ball. I'm talking about both his defensive work rate and making runs when he isn't in possession. In that department, we need to see more. He needs to be more involved, and he's going to get more consistent playing time and be relied on more if he's willing to track back and work hard. He's doing it, we just need to see it at a higher level. Sometimes he can get lazy, especially when he's ball watching. At the end of the day, these skillful attackers, they're not rushing to defend, and I don't blame them. It's the same for every player around the world, but he has to buy in to that aspect of the game if he wants to hit the next level, because nowadays in football, you cannot get away with walking like Messi. I mean, unless you're as good as Messi yourself, but you can't do it. Every team, every successful team, everyone presses. I mean, look at Real Madrid. Mbappe and Vinny don't press and that team collapses. It's the same thing with City. So Cherki on the ball, he's a magician. He creates so many opportunities. He can score. He can create for others. He just has to buy in more defensively, work very hard without the ball, and make more direct runs. I know he's somebody that wants the ball to his feet, and for good reason. He's unbelievable with it, but he has to be willing to make runs even when he doesn't have the ball, because it's going to open up space for other players. He's a very intelligent player, so he's going to pick it up very quick. And don't forget, he's young. It seems like he's been around forever because he broke onto the scene at Olympique Lyon at such a young age, but he's still an extremely young player, so he's only going to get better and better with time. And the price tag that City paid for him, my god, is that a bargain. Go and compare that to what Liverpool paid for Wirtz. It's an absolute bargain. I can't believe people used to say that Cherki has an attitude problem. And then we get to Phil Foden. Now with Foden playing back to his best, I'm going to be a little bit nitpicky here because I actually think he's been playing unbelievable. Part of it is defensive work rate, he can do more, but I actually think it's his decision making. You see, sometimes I watch him and I think he's just too shoot happy. He can't wait to pull the trigger on a shot, and I don't blame him. He's one of the most lethal players in world football when it comes to scoring and shooting from outside the box. But at times he can be better as a creator. Instead of looking to constantly shoot, there's gaps available where he can play make and create for others. So his decision making just has to get better more consistently. Again, I'm nitpicking here. There are many times where he finds the right pass, but I think he can do it more consistently. And the reason that I'm nitpicking is because his ceiling is so high. He can do so much more, get so many more goals and assists. He just has to be better at picking when to shoot and when to pass the ball. And of course, he can always be more clinical. Foden, kind of like Yamal, seems to be better at putting the ball in the back of the net from outside the box than in the 18-yard box. I don't know why that's the case for these players, but that's an area of his game that he can get better. But again, for me, the most important thing is his decision making, being more consistent in that department, especially in the attacking third. Now we get to the winger. Savinho, very inconsistent guy. Again, people forget he's very young, so this is part of the development process. I still think he's a super talented player. I mean, there's not that many wingers at his age who are better than him. He just needs more time to develop. His inexperience is what leads to his inconsistency. It's what leads to his poor decision making and why some of his performances aren't up to scratch. Because when I watched this guy back in Girona, he was unbelievable, and he still has all the skill sets and qualities to be a truly world-class winger. He needs game time, but this is the difficult part. Pep isn't going to wait around for you to develop. When he gives you limited opportunities, you have to make the most of it. And Savinho, unfortunately, hasn't done that consistently enough. I think he'll figure it out, but right now, he needs to be better in those limited opportunities. He needs to know when to dribble, when to pass, when to take on your winger, and when to just lay it off for someone else. I would say the same thing goes for Bob. His development was absolutely halted because of that injury, so to get back to the levels he was playing at before, he needs to play more. He just doesn't have that much experience under his belt. And especially if you're gonna play in Pep's system, you need a high footballing IQ and or a lot of experience. And both Bob and Savinho don't have an abundance of time played. So City fans, fans just have to be patient, because when these guys click, they're going to be incredible wingers. Now we have Marmoush. Now Marmoush, you can list him as a winger, you can list him as a striker. I honestly feel bad for him because I don't think he has a glaring weakness. I think the issue is that he came to play as a striker, but you're always going to be a backup to Haaland. As long as he's healthy, he's going to be starting. It's a very similar situation to Julian Alvarez. It's like if you want to play Marmoush with Haaland, you're going to have to play Marmoush out of position. Now, I do think he can play on the left, but from what I'm seeing, Pep doesn't trust him. So I would assume that his glaring weakness is footballing IQ. Not that he's a dumb player. He's not Ronald Araujo from Barcelona. I'm saying that maybe it's taking him some time to fully adjust to Pep's system. That's the only reason why I see him not necessarily playing on the left, plus the fact that Doku's playing amazing, plus the fact that Marmoush was injured. So I think the main two reasons is that Doku has hit another level on that left wing, so he's pretty much locked down the spot. Haaland has been injury-free and playing at an insane level, and then Marmoush got injured. So it's those three things combined with the fact that I think Marmoush is still learning Pep's system. Because we saw last year, the guy came in the winter transfer window and hit the ground running. He got more output in half a season than a lot of players got that year through the whole season. Garnacho and Haaland. So Marmoush is good. In fact, the biggest issue around him was that people weren't finding his direct runs. Now City play even more direct, so Marmoush should thrive. I think he's just not getting enough opportunities because of the factors that I listed. It's just poor timing and a little bit of an unfortunate situation. When he has played, it's tough to judge him. His decision making could be better. He could be more lethal. But again, he missed large chunks of the season because he was injured, and he hasn't been getting that many opportunities because he's a second striker, but City don't really play with a guy like that. And on the left, Doku's been amazing. And speaking of Doku, he's been unbelievable. It's been his best season. For me though, his glaring weakness is still his end product. Yes, he has significantly improved. He's much better at finishing the ball and actually finding people after he dribbles past a bunch of guys with those quick feet, but it still needs work. There's still many times where he does his happy feet. It's a reference to the movie with the Penguins. He gets a little bit of space, but the end ball isn't there. Again, he's gotten much better in that department. That's why his assist numbers have gone up. That's why he's scoring more goals. But remember when we got hyped about that goal against Liverpool? That was his first goal in a very long time. The end product needs to be better. He needs to consistently beat his man and just curl it in. And I know that's asking a lot, but that's the quality he has. Because if he can improve his finishing and if he can get better crosses in the attacking third, he's literally unstoppable. Because when he's running at you with his speed, with his dribbling, you are not going to stop him. If he runs at you 10 times, he's going to beat you at least one time. The problem is in those 1, 2, 3 times that he gets the better of his fullback, he has to make it count. He has to be able to find Haaland cleanly. He has to get a clean strike on goal. Again, he's another player that's very young, so he's going to continue developing. But for me, even though he's improved in that department, it's still his most glaring weakness. And then we get to Erling Haaland. What an unbelievable season he's having. Goal after goal. Now, he's actually improved one of his weaknesses. He's more involved in the build-up, and City are playing more to his strengths. They're finding him in transition. They're finding him in behind. I mean, look at how many of the goals he has scored this season have been from runs in behind. Usually, City keep the ball, and they try and find him in the box. I mean, that Kevin De Bruyne cross to Haaland was copy-pasted over and over again when he had his best individual season in the 2022-2023 season. Now he gets his goals in a different way. He's still a fox in the box, but he gets a lot of goals from through balls in behind. The problem with Haaland, and what will always be his weakness even if he's more involved in the build-up, is you have to create opportunities for him. That's the glaring issue with any number 9. But Haaland's not the type of guy that you can just pass the ball to him and he's going to dribble past 3 or 4 guys. It's not his role, so unfortunately it will always be his biggest weakness. You have to make opportunities for him. You have to get him the ball in the right areas. And as a result, sometimes he can be taken out of matches. Now, when I'm saying that, he's still good with his positioning. He's still going to create space for other players. Haaland himself has talked about this, that just because he has gotten minimal touches, that doesn't mean he wasn't impactful. And I'm agreeing with him.
In the first half, you only had 7 touches. 2 of those were goals. Are we underestimating how difficult that is when you're not involved in the game, but to then go and score 2 goals like that?
I still think I'm involved in the game, doing movements and giving space to others.
But it will always be a weakness that sometimes if they're marking him tightly and City are not able to get the ball to him, he's just not available. Now, it's not something unique to him. It's the thing with any number 9. But I have to nitpick. We're looking at one of the greatest finishers the sport has ever seen. I can't just glaze him the whole video. I have to talk about his issue. In fact, he would have gotten his 100 Premier League goals even faster if he had been more clinical against Newcastle. So City are doing a better job of getting him involved. He's not having games with single-digit touches anymore like he was in the 2022-2023 season, or even the 2024 season. But Haaland is always going to be one of those players that you have to create opportunities for. You can't give him the ball and expect a moment of magic out of nowhere. Now, of course, while all these guys have glaring issues, City at their best are incredibly good. To see how Pep has made Manchester City scary again, you have to check out this video right here.